certainly not a training exercise.
Agreed. We need to get the remaining civilians off-world.
There's something strange in the warp, Justicar.
I feel it too, brother. But these civilians need us. For Titans!
Hey guys, welcome to GFN Gaming. I'm Russ, and today we're going to be playing 125 points of narrative kill team between the Grey Knights and the Tyranids. Today's mission is going to be based off the Light the Beacon's Tau specific narrative game in the Kill Team Annual. In this scenario, the Grey Knights are protecting civilians long enough to extract them from the planet that's now infested with Tyranids. In this scenario, the Tyranids will automatically be the attackers, and that means the Grey Knights will be acting as the defenders. The defenders get to place 3 objectives within their own deployment zone, not within 5 inches of the board edge or each other. These objectives represent underground mag bunkers full of the civilian populace of this now doomed planet. The Grey Knights at the end of the movement phase roll a d6, and on a 4+ they will activate the homing signal for the transport that will be sweeping the area at the end of the game. If they roll a 4+, the homing signal for the bunker is activated, and if it remains so until the end of the game, the transport will retrieve the bunker using mag technology, and the Grey Knights will get 3 victory points. Once activated, the homing signal remains so even if the model moves away. If the attacking model gains the objective though, this signal is disrupted. Points are scored at the end of the game. The Tyranids will get 2 victory points for any bunker that was unable to be extracted, and the Grey Knights will get 3 victory points for every bunker that they do extract. Both sides also get 1 victory point for every model they take out of action. That's the mission, so now let's look at the teams, starting with the Grey Knights. Leading the Grey Knights and absolutely in no way making up his points cost is the Terminator Justicar. It's not a great choice, but it's a narrative game. And he's armed with a Nemesis warding stave and of course his Stormbolter. My first specialist is going to be a Zealot, and he's a normal Grey Knight with Nemesis Falchions and of course his Stormbolter. Second specialist is also going to be running the Nemesis Falchions and Stormbolter, and he's going to be my Veteran. Which means my last specialist is going to be the Combat Specialist. I'm running a Justicar with a Nemesis Demon Hammer. Last model in the team is going to be a Grey Knight Gunner, and he's armed with a Psilencer, but spelt with a P, because Grey Knights like killing demons and wordplay. Moving on to the Tyranids team, and I've taken the Hive Fleet adaptation Kronos, which means in the shooting phase I get to reroll 1s if my models were stationary. Sort of like Dark Angel's Light. Leading the Tyranids is my Tyranid Warrior Gunner, and he has a Venom Cannon and the Scything Talons. My first specialist in the Tyranids team will be a Combat Lictor. I've also given him Flesh Hooks. Second specialist in the team is a Tyranid Warrior. I've taken him as Comms, and he's got Rending Claws and Scything Talons. You know it's not a serious match because he's bought a Hive Guard with Impaler Cannon. I really like the model and I kind of want to see what it does, but I think it will do nothing. Sadly, I don't have any Hormagants, so I'm just using my Termagants, and there's 5 of them. Those are the teams. Let's move on to turn 1. Because of the mission, there's no deployment roll. Grey Knights will be deploying first, and then they'll roll for initiative. I was a little unsure where to deploy the Grey Knights. I tend to push them forward in cover to get into closer range and then ultimately combat where they shine. But with the points being scored at the end of the movement phase, I've sort of got to keep them back a little bit. With the Tyranids having more models, I can kind of place my more static models down first and then wait for the small amount of drops for the Grey Knights before I can decide where I'm going to put the bulk of my forces and basically decide where I'm going to swarm forwards. And that's it. This is a quick recap of where everything ended up at the end of the deployment. And with that, we'll move on to turn 1 initiative roll. Tyranids get a 6 and Grey Knights get an 8. Turn 1 movement phase. The Terminator Justicar is just going to ready, as is the Psilencer. Ended up not liking where this guy was positioned, so I'm just going to move him back, but still within 2 inches of objective 3. The Grey Knight on objective 2 is also going to ready, and the Justicar is going to advance, trying to put some pressure on the Hive Guard early doors. And here's a quick recap of what happened in the Grey Knight's movement phase. As you can see, the Grey Knights currently hold all 3 objectives, but we'll see what happens at the end of Tyranid's movement phase, turn 1. The Hive Guard and Tyranid Warrior with Venom Cannon are both going to ready. These 2 Termagants are both going to advance. As will the Tyranid Warrior. All 3 Termagants on this side actually roll really good advance rolls, and they actually all get to objective 3, so they kind of swamp that now. The Lictor's also going to advance, tucking into that building for some extra cover. And here's a recap of the turn 1 movement phase for the Tyranids. Lots of advancing, and they've also taken objective 3. End of the movement phase now, and we're going to roll for the objectives, looking for a 4-up, so no on objective 1, but the signal for objective 2 has been activated. Time to unleash Psychic Death. Psybolt into the Termagant. Brotherhood of Psychers and Shadow in the Warp cancel each other out, so looking for a 5-up to cast. It goes off, so that's 1 mortal wound, and the roll of a 5, he's out of action. First blood to the Grey Knights. Second Psybolt being cast, again cancelling each other out, so looking for a 5-up. It goes off, and on a 4 he's taken out of action as well. It's been a deadly psychic phase. Moving on to the shooting phase with the Grey Knight's initiative, and the Psilencer is going to target the Venom Cannon leader. We're also going to pop 2 CP on Psychic Onslaught, which will mean the Psilencer will be Strength 5, AP -1. This is going to be 6 shots, hitting on 5s. And wounding on 3s. This is going far too well. -1 AP, so it's going to be a 5-up save. And he fails 2, so it's going to be 2d3 damage. Just the 1 wound, and 2 wounds only, so he's still alive with 1 wound. Now time for the Tyranid Warrior to fire his Venom Cannon, and he's going to fire instead at the Grey Knight on objective 2 to try and take him out of action. Assault D3 shots, and that's just the 1. Hitting on 5s, and he gets it. Strength 8, Toughness 4, so wounding on 2s. That's a wound at -2 AP, so he's going to be a 5-up save. Fails a save on a 4, so it's going to be D3 damage. Oh, but it's just the 1. Still enough to kill him, but only 1 die on the injury roll. And on a 2, it's just a flesh wound. With only 1 wound left on the Tyranid Gunner, the Justicar Terminator is going to try and take him out of action. At this range, it's only going to be 2 shots, but he's not in cover, so it's hitting on 4s. And he gets a hit, and it's a wound on a 4, but he makes a save on a 6. Got an incredible threat range, not needing line of sight and having a 36-inch range. We'll see if he's worth his points. The Hive Guard's going to put his 2 shots into this Grey Knight, hitting on 6s. Does get a hit, and at strength 8, it's going to be 2s to wound. Gets the wound at -2 AP, so it's going to be a 5-up save. Fails the save, and it's D3 damage. Looking for a 5 or a 6 to take him out of action, but it's just a flesh wound. Flesh wounded Grey Knight on objective 2 is going to fire back into the Venom Cannon. 2 shots, hitting on 5s. Gets a hit, but fails to wound on a 1. Looking past the Termagants, this Grey Knight is going to fire into the Lictor. There's an additional minus to hit the Lictor, so it's going to be 4 shots, hitting on 5s. And that's a big ol' nothing. He's advanced and he's in cover, so it's going to be 1 shot, hitting on 6s from the Flesh Borer. Firing at the Grey Knight here, we're going to take a shot from the Termagant, hitting on 5s. And he gets it. And it's a wound on a 4, but he makes his save. And then I just forget to do the second one. The fight phase comes and goes like a British summer, as does the morale phase, and we'll go on to the scores. At the end of turn 1, it is 2 points to the Grey Knights and no points to the Tyranids. Turn 2 initiative roll, Tyranids get a 6, Grey Knights get a 7. Terminator charges the Gaunt, fails Overwatch, and he makes the charge. Flesh wounded Grey Knight is going to advance, getting a 6, and he's going to move over to objective 1. Silence is going to ready, and the Justicar is going to charge the Hive Guard. Just out with an 8, so we're going to use a reroll. And gets it with a 9. Zealot Grey Knight's going to charge into both the Termagants. Doing the Overwatch together, and they both miss, and then his charge, and he can't really fail, so he's... And here's a quick recap of the movement phase for the Grey Knights. A couple of charges getting off and a big advance onto Objective 1. Currently Objective 2 is already activated and they've got a chance to activate Objective 1 at the end of the movement phase. Tyranid Gunner is going to activate, and I've just realised how close the Lictor is to the Terminator Justicar now, so he's going to charge over the building. The image of this Lictor just silently stalking the Terminator Justicar as he just lands behind him. Next to the building, the Tyranid Warrior is going to charge through the doorways to get at the Grey Knight. And on the roll of a 9, he comes crashing through the doors right into the Grey Knight. That's the movement phase for the Tyranids. Here's a quick recap. End of the movement phase now, and we're going to roll for Objective 1. And it's not activated on a 2. Beset by beasts on both sides, the Grey Knight will lash out with psychic power. Manifests on a 7, and that's 1 mortal wound down. As the Lictor crashes into melee range with the Justicar, he turns and unleashes a psychic bolt of energy. Goes off on a 7, so that's a mortal wound off the Lictor. Onto the shooting phase, and the Silencer is going to shoot into the Venom cannon, hitting on 5s. No Psychic Onslaught this time, so wounding on 4s. Damn. No AP, so it's a 4-up save. Only got the 1 wound left, so D3 damage, and that's 2, so 2d6, looking for a 4, 5, or a 6. And with that, it's just a flesh wound. He's going to shoot straight back, and this is going to be Assault D3 shots. So that's 2 shots, and with the flesh wound, he's going to be hitting on 6s. Misses both, but with 4 CP in the bank, we're going to try a reroll. And it still misses. That's the end of the shooting phase, so we're going to move on to the fight phase. Starting with the Grey Knights, and the Terminator Justicar is going to try and take out the Lictor. 3 attacks, hitting on 3s. And he gets 2, strength 6, toughness 4, so wounding on 3s. D3 damage on the warding stave, so 1's not going to do it, so I'm going to use a reroll. Of course. So that's just the 1 wound at minus 1 AP, so a 6-up save. And he does fail it. My gut says I should reroll it. My gut has for brains. D3 damage, and he takes 2 damage. Okay, on to the next combat. Tyranid Warrior is going to use his Rending claws for the AP into the Grey Knight. 3 attacks, hitting on 3s. Pretty terrible roll. But he wounds on a 6, so it's a minus 4 AP. Tyranids are going to spend 2 CP for Implant Attack, which means they get a plus 2 to the modifier for the injury roll. And with that, he's taken out of action, and it frees up the Tyranids on that flank. Tyranid Warrior is just going to consolidate towards the gunner. Now the moment the Tyranids have been dreading, the Demon Hammer into the Hive Guard. With Combat Specialist, the Justicar has 3 attacks, hitting on 4s because of the hammer. Strength 8, toughness 5, so wounding on 3s. And that's 2 that go through. There's going to be no save here, and they're flat 3 damage. And on that roll, he's taken out of action in the first round he's in combat. Justicar's just going to consolidate a little bit further towards the leader. Lictor's going to pile in and move around the Justicar to get closer to the Grey Knight lines. Slithering around the back of the Justicar, this is going to be 4 attacks with his grasping talons, hitting on 2s. Strength 6, toughness 4, so wounding on 3s. Yikes. The Lictor's grasping talons punch straight through the Terminator armor, and it's 2 damage, so it'll take him out of action, or at least to an injury roll. And it's just a flesh wound for the Terminator. Termagant takes a swing, but misses. Moving on to the morale phase. With leadership 7, 1 model out of action, and another model flesh wound, this Grey Knight could fail on a 6. But he keeps it together on the roll of a 2. Which means the scores as we move into turn 3 are 3 to the Grey Knights, 1 to the Tyranids. Turn 3 initiative roll, Grey Knights get a 7, as do the Tyranids, so we'll roll again. And the Grey Knights take it with an 11. Turn 3 movement phase, this Grey Knight on objective 1 is just going to position so he can get line of sight for shooting. Worried about the swarm approaching, this Grey Knight's going to withdraw, get a bit of cover, and get some line of sight. Hammer Justicar is going to try and charge the Tyranid Warrior. Overwatch first. Just the 1 shot. Going to re-roll it. And gets the 3. Needing 6s, gets 1. Unfortunately can't re-roll the 1 because it specifies shooting phase. Oh well. Minus 2 AP, so needs a 5-up save. Fails on a 4. Gonna re-roll it. And he gets it on a 5. And he fails a charge. Probably should have kept the reroll for that, but arguably he might have been dead, so. Terminator is going to stay in combat, and with that failed charge, it marks the end of the Grey Knight movement phase. Here's a recap of what's happened. As you can see, Objective 2 is still active, and they hold Objective 1. Tyranid's movement phase, and the Tyranid warrior is going to advance, only getting a 1, and he's just going to plant himself on that objective. The Termagants with him are both going to advance as these swarm of Tyranids just burst from behind the cover of this yellow container. The Lictor and the Termagant stay in combat with the Terminator, and the Gunner will just ready. And that's it for the movement phase for the Tyranids. Here's a quick recap of what's happened. Lots of advancing from the right hand side, and as you can see, the signal from this objective is now disrupted. End of the movement phase, and the Grey Knights will roll to see if they can activate the beacon on this objective. On the roll of a 3, it is not yet activated. Moving on to the psychic phase, and the Grey Knight's going to try and take out the Lictor before he can strike in combat. Goes off on a 9, that's 1 mortal wound, so he's onto the injury roll. And a 3 is just a flesh wound. Justicar in the window is going to try and smite the leader. Just goes off on a 5, so it's a mortal wound, and on a 5 he's taken out of action. With the warp antics done, it's on to the shooting phase. Just checking the distance between targets here to see if I can target more than one, but they're all over 2 inches, so the Psilencer is going to target the comms Tyranid warrior. Not using any tactics, but there's no cover, so this is just going to be 6 strength 4 shots, no AP, hitting on 3s. And that's 4 hits, strength 4, toughness 4, so wounding on 4s or more. 3 wounds with no AP, so it's a 4-up save. That's a surprisingly good roll. The Lictor is now going to fire his flesh hooks into the Terminator, and he's also going to take the +1 to hit from the comms. So this will be 2 shots hitting on 3s. Strength 6, so wounding on 3s. Bless you. I'm going to use a reroll. And it wounds. AP 0, and he makes his 2+ save. Grey Knight here is going to try and take out the warrior. He's going to use 1 CP for Cybele ammunition to give him strength 5 and AP -1. That's a sexy roll. Thanks, Sean. Strength 5, so now wounding on 3s.
Another shot.
I get it, Sean. It's a great roll.
Shoddy.
Fails 2 saves, so it's going to go to the injury roll. And it's just a flesh wound. Termagants are going to fire their flesh borers. This one here is going to fire at the gunner, needing a 5. And he misses. And the other one fires at the flesh wounded Grey Knight, but misses. And with that, that's the end of the shooting phase, and we move on to the fight phase. Grey Knight initiative, and they're going to try and get rid of the Lictor before he can strike at the Terminator. Striking with the warding stave, this is going to be 3 attacks hitting on 3s. And wounding on 3s. Just the one gets through, it's -1, so 6-up save. It's close but not enough, so it's D3 damage. So because of the flesh wound, it's 2d6 looking for a 3-up. And with that roll, he's taken out of action. Only other model in combat to Termagant, so he's going to give it a shot. He hits, but fails to wound. Broken check for the Tyranids, and they're okay on a 3. In the morale phase, and the Termagants can't break because they're within synapse, but this guy could. But he doesn't. So at the end of turn 3 and moving into turn 4, the Grey Knights have 5 victory points for their kills, and the Tyranids just have the 1. However, for the Tyranids, there is still 6 victory points left on the table in the fact that all 3 objectives are not currently marked. Which means the Grey Knights need to kill 3 bad guys without losing any, or secure at least 1 objective before the game ends. Turn 4 initiative roll, Tyranids get a 7 and the Grey Knights get an 8. Onto the movement phase, the Justicar with a hammer is going to advance, getting a 6 and head towards objective 1. Terminator Justicar is going to withdraw from combat and get into range for objective 2. The veteran Grey Knight is going to charge into the Termagant. Overwatch first, he misses and he makes the charge. Also getting within 2 inches of the objective. Wanting to keep those Termagants at bay, the Grey Knight Gunner is also going to charge into the Termagant. Makes a charge, and he fails Overwatch. And here's a recap of the Grey Knight's movement phase. As you can see, they've moved in a way to get both objectives 1 and 2. Tyranid's movement phase, and the warrior is going to charge the Terminator and Grey Knight. Not much else the Tyranids can do, but this Termagant's going to move on to the objective and contest it. And here's a quick recap of what happened in the Tyranid movement phase. With equal bodies now on Objective 2, it will be contested, but the Grey Knights will still get to roll for Objective 1. And on the roll of a 1, it still doesn't activate. Moving on now to the Psychic phase. Needing a strong Psychic phase now, as they've had in previous turns, we'll start with the Terminator Justicar casting a Psybolt into the Tyranid warrior. Manifests on a 9, and with his flesh wound just looking for a 3-up, and he's taken out of action on a 4. Next Psybolt will be from this veteran into the Termagant. Without the Shadow of the Warp, this now manifests on a 10, but it's just a flesh wound. Gonna re-roll it, and he's taken out of action. Another strong Psychic phase for the Grey Knights, racking up another 2 kills, bringing their total score to 7. There's no shooting phase this round, so we'll move straight on to the fight phase. Only one eligible combat this round, and that's going to be the Grey Knight Gunner against the Termagant. Grey Knight's going to strike first, needing a 3. Fails on a 2, but we're going to use a reroll, and he hits. And he wounds on a 5. No AP, but the Termagant fails his save on a 1. Gonna use their last reroll, but it's still a fail, and on a 3 it's just a flesh wound. Termagant attacking back now, hits on a 6, and it's a wound on a 6, but he makes his save. End of round 4 now, and we are playing variable game length, so we're going to roll to see if it continues, and on a 6 it will continue. So at this stage, with only broken Termagants left, the Tyranids are going to sadly concede. There is the faintest hope that the Grey Knights perils of the warp and then fail again with the reroll, and that's basically the only hope the Termagants now have. With the gunner locked in combat, they might not be able to make it to Objective 3, because you won't be able to advance, but they'll certainly hold Objective 1 and 2, and with their Psybolts they'll most likely kill the Termagants, if not in Psychic then in the shooting, and then it's a 50-50 chance on both Objective 1 and 2 to score an additional 3 victory points. So there you have it. At the end is a Grey Knights victories. Thanks so much for watching. If you like this kind of video, please like and please subscribe for more content like this. See you next time. Bye!